Hello and welcome to Chapter 1 of BA218, where we get this course started and we're looking at personal financial planning, which is really taking a step to evaluate where we are. Our objectives for this course or this chapter is one, to understand and identify the difference between micro and macro factors that affect financial thinking, create and evaluate financial goals over time, and being able to identify professional financial advisors. Now, when we're thinking about individual or micro factors that affect financial thinking, and by micro, we're talking about things that are small. So we're looking at our family structure. Do we have parents that are married? How many children are in the family household? Are the parents working? Are they not working? Are there siblings, or are we part of a single child household? Those all influence our family structure. Health, believe it or not, this is a huge factor when people are looking at their money. And, some folks have chronic illnesses. Sometimes people are involved in, absolutely horrific accidents. There's pregnancies, both wanted and unwanted. Maybe we're healthy and paying for health care is not a major issue. But it is something that we have to think about here in the United States. What type of career are we looking at? Is it both satisfying and, are we able to earn money doing what we want? Or is it simply satisfying but really doesn't pay a lot? Or maybe the opposite. Maybe it pays a ton and we're not really happy. So those career choices influence us. How old we are. And this is important because as we age, we change. Our needs, desires, values, and priorities change over time. And that influences us and our financial picture. So, when you're young and starting out, you're trying to save money, maybe for a house, maybe for college, whereas when you're getting closer to retirement, you're thinking, wow, house is paid off, maybe, and maybe I want to travel, or maybe health is a different concern, but things change and we have to be able to adapt to those changes. And, financial planning, it involves having a very thorough understanding of who you are, what your goals are, what your circumstances are, and being able to be very grounded in that information so that you're making sound decisions for your future. Now, on the opposite side, so looking at macro factors, so these are things that are super big, but they do influence us, such as the business cycle. How is the economy moving? Is it expanding, and is it a time of growth, or is it actually shrinking where jobs are being lost and you've got people holding on to their money a little more because there's a lot of uncertainty? We start looking at something that's called our gross domestic product. Now, this measures the health of a national economy through unemployment and the consumer price index. So, if you look at the graphic here, we're looking at GDP, and you might hear this on your local news. It's consumption. So how much are we paying, when we're out shopping, plus our investment, plus government spending. and then looking at the net balance of exports minus your imports. That gives us our domestic product, and that's an indicator of whether the economy here in the United States, is it growing? Is it shrinking? Because while that's big, it's macro, it does influence what happens in our daily lives. Additionally, we have the Consumer Price Index, which is really the value of money over time. So, are we able to purchase the same amount of product today that our parents were able to purchase 20 years ago? And this graph is looking at this information. So we have our monthly change and how that compares annually. And you see that they really do match up really well. And you've got some weird adjustments right here, in the middle of 2009. There was something that happened to the value of money here in the United States. And then after some adjustment, things got back to normal. So this influences decisions. We also have to look at financial planning and whether we are in a period of inflation or deflation, because that impacts how much money we can, how far can we stretch our dollar. And it affects our purchasing power, it affects our investment choices. Are we willing to invest in stock, or are we being more conservative in money markets? And finally, in the macro factors, we look at personal financial planning. So part of this is taking into consideration business cycles. So again, it's part of that expansion or contraction. Is the economy being productive? How is our currency value, especially as it relates to some of our international partners? How does it compare to China? How does it compare to Germany? Any place that we are involved in, imports and exports, that has an influence. And then there's other economic indicators. What's happening on the stock market? What is happening in healthcare? How about the aging of the baby boomers or the millennials? How about Generation X? How are these groups influencing what is happening in the economy? So these are always factors to be, kind of keep in the back of your mind as you're making your own personal financial plan. Now, when we're planning, SMART goal, most of you probably have heard about SMART goals before. You want to be specific, you want to be measurable, you want to be attainable, realistic, and time bound. Planning our finances is no different. You need to step back, think about where are you right now? And more importantly, where do you want to go from here? And how do you get there? So it's defining your goals. Do you want to go to college and graduate debt-free? You have to take a look at the current situation. What is influencing you? Do you have a job? What are your choices? Identifying your choices. Then, super important, making a decision. Well, after you make that decision, you assess what happened. So that's assessing the resulting situation. And then thinking, oh, that really worked well. I'm going to keep doing it. Or, that didn't go as I expected. I need to make some changes. So that's redefining our goals, identifying new choices, choosing, making a decision about what you're doing, reassessing the current situation, and so on and so forth. The cycle continues and it doesn't stop. And, when we know where we're trying to get, where we want to get to, graduating from college without student loans, buying a house by the time we're 30. Having those very concrete goals helps us to stay focused on what is our end game, how do we get there. And we also see in the world of finances, there are financial planning professionals. And these folks work in a variety of professions, some that you may want to explore. So they can be accountants. So accountants as in, working on, if you have your own business, you're probably going to hire someone to do your books. You have financial advisors, investment advisors, tax advisors, estate advisors, insurance agents. All of these people are resources to help you make decisions so that you are meeting the goals that you have set out for yourself. Now, it's really super, super important to understand how your advisor is trained and compensated. So you want to know that the professional that you are hiring, do they really have the training that they need to give you solid, good advice? And how are they paid? So are they paid a flat fee for their services, or are they paid to sell you a product? That's very important. So that's some good information to be thinking about. And then finally, diversifying your sources of information and advice by using two types of advisors. You have subjective advisors, which are your friends and family, and these are people that are, they want you to succeed. And then you have your objective advisors, which are the professionals. They also want you to be meeting your financial goals, but they're paid to do that, and they're maybe a little more objective than mom and dad or your best friend. So having a balance of sources for you to get information and advice, that helps you to get more information, and it also helps you to reduce your risk. So those are all super important factors to think about when you are um, setting up your financial plans. So this is a very quick summary of Chapter 1. I would like you to make sure that you go back and read it in lots of detail. The chapter goes into much more information than I have here. These are just sort of the highlights of the chapter. And there are some assignments that are affiliated with Chapter 1, so make sure you check those out and turn those in. And finally, make sure that you are keeping track of your daily finances and your daily income. This helps you to figure out where are you and where are you financially, and are you in that sweet spot where you're happy, or are there changes you can make so that you are meeting your financial goals? So thanks everyone. I look forward to having you in the class and getting to know each of you. Take care.